You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the June 4th meeting for the LaPorte County Board of Commissioners. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the LaPorte County Commissioners meeting, Wednesday, June 4th at 10 a.m. Tommy, would you start us with the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Connie Grammarosa, President.
Present.
Steve Hollifield,
Present.
Vice President. And Joe Haney, Member.
President.
Thank you. You have a quorum. All people are present.
Consider agenda.
I'd like to make a couple additions to the agenda. Under the department head comments, I want to add a letter of recognition for the Lions Paws support for veterans in Fish Lake. And then under new business 11E, place the shower bids in there, request for bids for the jail.
Very good. I second that, and I would also like to add consider advertising for a county engineer position.
Under new business?
Under new business, yes, F.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Consider approval for the May 21st minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Consideration of claims.
We have payroll ending 5/30, $1,489,592.65.
Motion to approve payroll as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have operating expense claims of $2,327,009.04.
Make a motion to accept claims as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Public comment. Public comment is now open.
This is Tommy Kolovic from 1316 Ohio Street. I'm a Michigan City man. Good morning, distinguished and honorable council members, and attorney and auditor, and Miss Diane and our IT lady, Darlene. I want to just say I got a couple public service announcements to make. This is about the Michigan City area schools, and I think the Michigan City is a county issue because there are a number of our students that are live in the unincorporated areas of the county, like Cool Spring Township and Springfield Township, that are enrolled and do attend the Michigan City area schools. And this is something open to anybody in the county or New Buffalo or Chesterton. This is for serious going on. This is the Little Wolves Early Learning Center. We all know the new early you did use that as your temporary courthouse while it was being renovated, Woodland and 20. They're having an open house for prospective families and enrollment support. It's going to be a week from today, Wednesday, June 11th, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's 1001 U.S. Highway 20 in Michigan City. Their phone number is 219-873-2035. You can tour over their facility, meet our caring teachers and staff, learn about our play-based learning philosophy. Full and half-day options available. They accept the CCPD and On My Way pre-K vouchers accepted. Enroll your child for fall of 2025 or any time from the age of 3. Child must be fully potty trained, and their website is educatemc.net. That's a very successful program they have there. It's proven years ago when they had the Early Learning Center, it was now with Eastport Elementary School, which is now where the new Michigan City Police Station was at. Those students that went through that program when they graduated, they had a higher grade point average than those that don't. So anybody from the county can attend that. I'm a little my little 4-year-old niece, Nayari, she was the first one in our family to graduate from the Head Start program. They gave her a little cap, a little gown, and tassel, really nice. I also want to mention that it's always a special time for us is high school and college graduation time. I want to congratulate all of our recent graduates from all of the LaPorte County schools and all of our college graduates. I know Mayor Angie's daughter, Sydney, she just received her master's in public affairs from Indiana University at Bloomington. There's my niece, Alexis. She just received her master's degree in sociology from Indiana University in Bloomington. Really great college. I actually took her 8 years ago to her freshman orientation there. That's a whole story in itself. I might save you for some other time, but really proud of that. Just want to talk about Commissioner Bahacek. I mean, we all heard about
Senator.
it. Well, I'm not going to really badmouth, but I want to just mention, and I think everybody knows, but before he was the state senator, he was the LaPorte County Commissioner for 8 years. Back in 2009, I had interviewed to be the bridge tender for the Franklin Street Bridge. I later learned that that job ended up going to his wife. So I want to say I've always found the man to be a very dishonest and untrustworthy public servant. I'm glad he's not the senator in my district, because I'd have him voted out. Thank you.
Public comment is still open.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Atlee Price, 4767 North, 400 West. I appear before you this morning to speak in support of one of the, I think, the latter items on your agenda from the Bridge Naming Commission. In particular, I'm appearing to urge you to pass it because of one bridge in particular. While there are 6 on there, I'm interested in the one for Susan Hay Heminger. I'd just like to say that, first of all, that Bridge Naming Committee has done a phenomenal job over the years in selecting some names of individuals that truly are deserving and need to stay in our recognition as citizens of our county. Susan, though, is one of those individuals that certainly I would add to that group from a retrospective standpoint of who she was and what she accomplished. But there's a prospective element to her being named for a bridge, and I'll come to that in just a minute. For those of you who may not be familiar with her, she was, in fact, the first female judge elected in LaPorte County in 1990. She won that election by the largest margin of any contested judicial race ever in the history of LaPorte County. Unfortunately, because of the ravages of cancer, she only sat on the bench for a little over 2 years. And during the final days of her life, her brother and I were very close to her. I've known Susan since high school, basically. We met with her for some period of time from the standpoint of being able to plan out her estate. And we all came to the conclusion that since she had no children, that perhaps the best thing that she could do is to endow a scholarship with basically what the remains of her estate would entail. So her brother David and I set about to accomplish that in forming a trust, the Susan Hay Heminger Scholarship Foundation. It was endowed with the proceeds from her estate. Since then, it has gone forward with David and I as the trustees and Judge Paul Baldoni until just his passing here in the past few years. We were the 3 trustees for the first 20 years of that project. And every year we averaged between anywhere from 8 to 12 recipients on an average of the least amount of $2,000, and many years it was the maximum of $5,000. It's now taken over by the second generation, first of all, from recipients. Some of the first people we gave scholarships to, their children are now receiving scholarships as well. But a second generation in that David and I are no longer an active part of that committee, and Judge Paul Doney recently passed away, but her niece and nephews are now taking on that task. And I believe this past May was the 26th year, and in that period of time, over 500 individuals in LaPorte County who have to be a resident of LaPorte County have received, we're now rapidly approaching $2 million in benefits for scholarships to help them attend post-secondary education. I urge you to consider not only passing it for those other 5, but for Susan as well, because When Sue Webster, a member of that committee, asked me what did I think and could we, how could we go forward with this, and she was a very good friend of Susan's as well, I said, well, that's great. And I said, I don't mean to demean anyone who has received this honor in the past, but the bridges that were out there and being considered, I'm not going to demean them in any way, but they were bridges like over I-94 and out of the way areas. And I said, look, we've got to find something, I think, that has a little bit more of a traffic flow pattern, and I'll come to that in a minute. And I said, well, why not the Michigan Boulevard Bridge over Trail Creek? And Susan said, well, that's not a county highway. I said, it's a city highway because the state gave it up several years ago. It's now maintained by the city. So with that being said, the committee did their due diligence, went forward, and that's the bridge that they come to you with today. And the reason why I wanted to insist upon or try and make that the bridge that receives that honor is it puts her name out there. And here's where the prospective aspect comes, because we've been around for almost 26 years now. Hopefully it'll be well into the future beyond with other generations, another 25 or 26 years. And I can't tell you how many times individuals say, well, I didn't know who Susan A. Hemminger was. I had never heard of her. Well, I knew that there maybe was a scholarship out there, but we never thought to apply. So many times. With the name Susan A. Hemminger on both abutments of the northbound and southbound of Michigan Boulevard and everyone seeing it, each and every day when they pass that, hopefully that name rings a bell, and somebody who might not otherwise have been able to afford to go to college will think, oh, well, there's a scholarship maybe connected to that, and I think I might apply, thus giving a prospective element to carry forward in the future. So again, I thank the Bridge Naming Committee, and I thank you for considering it and urge your approval of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Seeing no one, we're going to close public comment, moving on to department head comments.
Good morning, Angie Davis, LaPorte
Good morning.
County Building Maintenance. I am actually just asking permission to approach council for funds to repair the roof here on the complex. We had an estimate, I believe, a year and a half ago, and I had the company come back out and give an updated estimate. So I'm just looking for permission to approach council.
And also, did you not have other companies that you contacted that did
Yes,
not
they-
want to come and bid?
Yes, they actually had 3 original bids, and this was the one that previous directors had come and asked to approach council. They never approached council. They had a signed contract with them, and they just sent me an updated due to increase on materials.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion to have her approach council. I was up on that roof with her and company, and it needs a lot of work, and it's just getting worse on the inside.
I'll second for discussion. Yeah, the roof, well, we see down the hallway here, we've got some issues with the buckets that are still out there. The updated, what is the updated price in line with the old one? Has it changed?
It's gone up just a small amount.
Small amount? Okay, what is it now?
$20,665.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Department head is still open.
Good morning, Monique Thomas, HR Director. Currently, we now have a wheelchair in the Hyler building for public use. It's located in the HR office, Suite 104. For anyone who has a customer or someone who may need it, the wheelchair is available in our office for access. Our food truck event is scheduled to take place June 12th in Michigan City and June 13th here at the LaPorte County Circle Drive. So hope to see everyone there. And also, we currently have job openings as usual. Feel free to check our website, stop by the office. We have a listing of job openings, and we're looking for dedicated people who want to work for LaPorte County. At this time, I would like to introduce Eric Gibson from GIS to bring forth a proposal for the commission for our clinic.
Good morning. Eric Gibson with GIS. So I know we've had some service issues with the North Shore Clinic. So some of the service issues have been extended wait times, closing the Michigan City location without notice, sort of a general lack of staffing as well. So members would still be able to use the North Shore Clinic. It is an in-network facility if you guys decide to cancel that contract and move forward with something else. Again, it would just move towards the normal UMR medical plan, so no one's losing access to anything. We've been evaluating other clinic options. We're still evaluating them. One of the first ones that came to the table was the Franciscan Clinic. They've got a great footprint here in northern Indiana. They may be a good fit. It is slightly different from the North Shore setup. So the Healthy Access program is targeted for primary care, urgent care, and wellness. So they've got a list of cabinet meds. I'll have Tim come up here or Leslie come up here in a moment and give a broader overview of their program. But the main difference is that they don't have that full pharmacy in that 340B program that North Shore does today. So again, folks could still use that pharmacy. It is an in-network benefit. It would just not be completely free. It would go straight to the medical plan as it would be any other pharmacy that's in-network.
Really, nothing's free, right? I mean,
Correct.
so someone's paying for it. It's just not the employees currently paying for it. Someone else is paying for it.
Absolutely. The county is currently paying for it.
Correct.
So with that, Tim, Leslie?
Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Tim Ross with Franciscan. Thanks for having us and thanks for considering us as you move forward. We're grateful to a lot of the business community in LaPorte, the city of LaPorte, and others, working with us on our new venture here in LaPorte. We opened a clinic just a little over a year ago, and things are going very well. And anything that we can do to help make a decision either way, we're more than happy to answer questions. But as Eric said, the medications, we do carry a list of medications that would be dispensed at the clinic for free as part of the program. As the program would be paid for by the county, the employees, dependents, and spouses would not have to pay anything at the clinic level. That's being performed at the clinic. And then those meds, of about 65 different meds that we carry, would be included and could be dispensed at that. But if we don't carry them as part of the formulary, then they have to go to the local pharmacy and use their plan for that. But a lot of the drugs are covered under those 65. So those, lab services are included. We're already looking at expanding our footprint at the current location that we are. The building that we're in has extra space, so we're looking at adding clinical operation space because of the overwhelmingness of the business community in LaPorte. So we're growing already that we want to expand the space and already looking at expanding hours at the location. And then we have one of the unique things about our model is our pricing model is a tiered pricing based on usage. So you're not just paying a flat fee up front, no matter who uses it. It's based on usage. So that's one of the unique things. And then, we have locations here in LaPorte, Michigan City, and Valparaiso that probably would be clinics that could be used by your employees as far as convenient locations. And then we also have Saturday and Sunday hours at our Michigan City location that can be used for an acute care type visit as part of that program.
The location, is that there here at the west end of town?
It is off Monroe Street.
Monroe Street, so it's a different
You
one.
need to come to the microphone, please. Sorry.
It's in the Legacy Plaza area off Monroe Street.
So directly across from the North Shore.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Are you staffing it with only mid-levels?
Currently, yes.
So if somebody needs to see a physician, they need to go outside the clinic.
Yes, we do have physicians at the Valpo location, but most of our locations are nurse practitioner, and nurse practitioners can handle pretty much everything a physician can, so we haven't had any issues where somebody comes in and says, I have something that the nurse practitioner can't see.
So similar, the services provided are similar to what the employees are getting now. So
I would think they're similar, plus probably extra. We have services such as yoga and the wellness, the labs, the X-ray. I think that we have a few other services that might not be being offered. I don't know specifically exactly all the services you're being offered now, but I know in comparison with talking with others that our offering that we have is pretty robust for the program.
Is this the same program that the city of LaPorte's using currently?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the main difference is, of course, going to be the drug program that we talked about, but also the specialty services. So if you got to go see a specialist for it, it's probably not going to be done through the clinic. But again, primary care, urgent care, wellness, all of that stuff can be covered by Healthy Access.
Sure.
And Eric, you'll continue to work with us to make sure that we're bringing in other providers.
Absolutely.
They were one of the first providers that came out to speak to us. And then at a later date, we'll bring it before the board, and then we'll have someone, we could either do a special meeting or we can do it at a commissioners meeting and then just kind of give a presentation about what our options will be.
Absolutely.
So moving forward right now, Mr.
I do have one more question, if possible. So if the county were to come aboard, we have 700 employees. That's a pretty big footprint that might start to use the facility. Are you going to be able to staff that? Because that's the issue that we've had
Yes.
with the other.
That's what I've heard. Yes, we are already making plans, not just based on you, but others that are approaching us and want to join. So we have already started. That's why we already started to look at using the additional space, which will help, and then providers and staff. So that's already under the works. And then plus, once you do make a decision, there's about a 45-day onboarding process before we would be able to start. So right now, you would start August 1st. You could start August 1st, but you would have till the end of July to be able to start September 1st. So there's always about a 45-day outlet. That's also giving us time to ramp up and bring people in. But we're already in that process because we already see from all the communications and people bringing us in to talk to them that we have to expand and bring in more staff. So we're already coming up with a game plan for that.
And to add to that, if I may, we have consistent providers.
Can you move closer to the mic? I'm sorry.
Put me on the spot. We have consistency of providers, so there'd be that continuity of care. I don't know. I've heard things that it's a different doctor every time we come, and we can't create that relationship with the provider. So that won't be an issue with us. We have the same provider. Depending on the day that you're going to come in, it'll be the same provider Monday through Thursday.
Very good. Have you given any, or is there any thought to adding on a 340B type pharmacy option? Are you guys capable of doing that if that's something that's...
Without saying anything, the 340B plan by the federal government, we don't feel really falls under the category of working with businesses. Okay, so and I think some of this new state bills that were passed in this legislation also put some more restrictions on that 340B plan, and we don't see it as a plan that could be offered through something like this. 340B pricing wasn't designed for that. Is how we feel.
Yeah, I've seen that, and that was one of the things that we had.
And I'm not saying that it's not. It's just
Sure.
Our interpretation of it.
Yeah. I kind of had looked at some of this when we were first delving into that option, because it does can save a tremendous amount of money on prescriptions, and being able to, as a governmental agency, as opposed to a for-profit business, there's kind of that carve out there, doesn't include it. I haven't seen the newest legislation to see, how that tightens it down. I feel like it did under the last one, but I guess my question for you, Eric, would be not right now, because you're not going to be able to answer this right now probably, but when you come back, losing the 340B option, how is that going to affect our insurance or our prescription costs moving forward? Because some of that stuff, like obviously we still have Magellan that we use to get rebates through, but you have to spend the money to get the rebates back. So like we're talking the other day with our HR director, and say you've got a $17,000 a year prescription, you're getting back $4,000, you're still out $13,000. Under 340B, that prescription may only cost $4,000 or $5,000. So then you're coming out ahead roughly $7,000-8,000 at the end of the year by doing that, and then the employees aren't paying anything out of pocket. But of course, obviously, we've seen some creative usage with a few of the medications that have come out of there that aren't necessarily directly indicated. So things where there's a medication that is indicated for insurance. If let's say you have a coexisting morbidity like diabetes or something, if you don't have that, then that would fall out sometimes of some of that stuff. So there's been a good mix of that. I think our current clinic worked well for the first 2 years, but we've seen over this past year and a half or so, there's been a number of different issues. So hopefully there's some way you can bring us some of those numbers so that we know that how much money we may or may not be losing depending on losing access to that 340B.
Absolutely. So it's going to be sort of a two-part analysis. One of the analyses is going to be, the clinic-to-clinic comparison, but then the other is going to be those drugs, to your point, coming back onto the plan. What's the financial impact of that? Mm-hmm. And then within the pharmacy benefit, the Magellan Prime Therapeutics, where do we go from there? Because there are other options out there, and some of them actually do have access to 340B. So that's going to be part of that analysis that we're going to be doing and bringing to you guys.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And I just like to say, the reason why we kind of got onto this and really reviewing a lot of the health care was because last year alone, we had to cut a check because our health care account was short. We had to put us $600,000 the first time. And then 6 months later, we had to put another $500,000 into it. So we, last year alone, in order to catch up the deficit, it was $1.1 million that was put into that healthcare account. I know that one of the problems that we had was going through North Shore. It didn't go through our insurance, so we were not getting the rebates on the medicine. So, I guess I would defer to you, Mr. DiMartino, at this point. What would be the next process in order for us to?
So I think we need to look at apples to apples. Franciscan's model is a lot different than a FQHC, and that's where, those prescription models come. But part of the problem with that is that they have been indiscriminately writing prescriptions. If you see a patient that has high blood pressure, you always want to start with a formulary drug instead of going to a new drug that comes out. So, having that step program, we've lost with what is going on now. But I think probably the better, and listen, I don't love Franciscan, but they're here and they do a good job, no offense. But what you have here is that you have a lot of people that will not use North Shore because their second tier provider is they're part of Franciscan network. And so you lose that continuity. But I think you'll grab a whole bunch more folks because if you're going to start with a Franciscan provider, even though they're mid-level, then they can kick them off and refer them to private pay in the Franciscan network. So I think that's going to be the biggest benefit where the current provider just doesn't have that. You know what I mean? So that's something that I think we all need to look at because that's what we hear.
So would we need a motion to have you start figuring out how we're going to cancel? Because I know that a notification has to be given and and work something out with North Shore, figuring out when we
Right,
would,
so- right.
and then give us so that would give us the ability on the insurance working group to figure out, if we can cancel that one, how much time and how many more interviews do we have to do with other clinics, so that then we can kind of like start comparing all those clinics and figure out which would serve us best. And that would give the group really a timeline on helping us out to figure out what we need to, or where we need to move next.
So, looking at the contract straight, you have a 6-month notice period in the contract, and we're not looking at whether there's cause to that's another issue. So, if it's the board's pleasure, you probably want to give me the authority to give them at least to trigger that 6-month notice, and whether there's a cause issue, and that'll give you the time, and you can decide. And if you decide that they're still going to be the best option, you can re-sign with them.
But you have to give them notice to start and say, hey, we're looking.
No, you have to give them a 6-month notice that you're going to
terminate, and then at the end of that 6 months, we could still re-sign with them.
If they want, you would think they'd want to work.
If that's the best, well, yeah, they have to want it, and if it's the best option. No offense to you guys, but like you're saying, apples to apples.
Yeah.
So we'll need a motion from this board.
I make a motion that the attorney start that process.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much for coming out. Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
Hey,
Department heads is still open. Do we have anyone else from department heads?
Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Lahners, Director, LaPorte County Health Department. I just wanted to give you a quick update about some of the legislative changes that have occurred this year, specifically speaking to the Health First Indiana funding and program. If you remember that when we opted into it in 2022, this was supposed to be a long-term program providing funding to the health departments to help expand services, what they were referring to as core public health services. And at the time I was saying, yes, we were doing 75% of that, and we were doing it very, very well. So we decided to opt in. This year, for our operating budget from the state, we were given $2.6 million. There was a drastic cut in the funding for the next 2 years. Next year, we will only be receiving $655,000 from the state. So it puts us in a hard place. Some of the other changes that also occurred was that in House Bill 1427 that passed, states that we can now, if we take Health First Indiana funds, we can only service Indiana residents. So I don't know how many other counties in the state, certainly not Grant or Blackthorn or Ohio County, have a large population in the county of secondary homeowners, especially in the Long Beach and the beach communities, that truthfully pay a lot of tax money, a lot of money in property tax that we cannot service. Even if they came to us paying cash for a flu shot, we cannot service them, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
So that's if we continue with the Health First.
Correct.
If we don't have the Health First, can we service them?
Yes, we can service anybody. And just so you know, in our ordinance, we do have a provision in there for out-of-county residents that come to us for services. We do charge an extra fee for that, and we always have. So that does cut into our revenue, the amount of people that we can see. We also cannot do anything with tobacco prevention and cessation, including vaping. We cannot use a single dollar to do any of that education or assistance in getting people off of those items.
That's through the Healthy First.
If we accept Health First Indiana funds.
So there's not It's not a 6-1, it's either yes or no.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, we have the provision in there too. Again, it's nobody else in the state has that provision on any divisions, any departments. A, with the residency thing, and B, also when we have a job opening, it has to be advertised for 30 days before we can interview and hire. And so you have 30 days, and the person needs to give notice after those 30 days. After you've interviewed, you could be months out. That has been a large inconvenience in the past, and that does make me worry. Looking forward into next year, I'm one of those departments that have a lot of, we'll call them legacy employees, long-term employees. I have a lot of people who have been there for over 30 years. Patricia Wozniak, who's been on May 29th, celebrated her 35th anniversary with LaPorte County. And I'm looking at a minimum of 4 people retiring next year. And we're already short.
Yeah. So at this point, I know that you've spoken to each one of us individually, and you've kind of like shared the information from it. How can we help you? What can we do for you here at this venture?
Well, it is the county executive decision whether we stay in that program or not. At the beginning, it was supposed to be an opt-in every 2 years. So essentially this year, we opt in or out to continue in the program.
So what is your recommendation at this point?
Can I just ask one question?
Yes, sir.
Has this gone before your board? Have you all looked at everything?
I have discussed it with my board individually one-on-one.
No formal action yet? Then?
No formal action yet.
Okay.
We do have the health board meeting on July 15th.
Okay.
I've discussed it in depth with our board president and with our health officer, Dr. Ducey, as well as our attorney.
And when is your deadline for opting in?
The opt-in, we have until the end of the year. I'm just trying to get ahead of the budget hearings. I don't want to be that department that
Okay.
be the pain in October,
So
November, trying to get
Can you, well,
I just wanted to
I would like this to go before your board.
100% agree.
Is there a way for you to work 2 budget paradigms, one with and one out? I know it's more work on your part, so at least the council would be informed either way, so they can make a fiscal decision, or do you have the ability to do that?
Yes, I can do that.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. My recommendation would be, though, going forward, if we did take the Health First Indiana funds, the only way we would be able to do that is by giving the funds to community partners. And just also, that they did not take away any of the requirements with the funding. So they took it away, but they didn't take away any of the requirements that we still have to meet otherwise.
So we would have to do everything that we were doing in the past, but we're not funded for it, so then it would be the county picking up the cost of that.
Yeah, I believe this was Mr. Haney's concern when we went into
Yeah,
this.
when
It was.
Yeah.
And it kills me. I was so optimistic. I was, I'm like, this is going to be a great thing. And you, Mr. Stables, both were just like, eh.
I had just watching what's happened with the state over the years, I had a feeling that it was one of those things where they could just turn the spigot off. Or in this case, they closed it about 2/3 of the way. So,
yeah.
Of the roughly 600,000 that you could get from that, how much of that is the county able to maintain to subsidize your budget versus giving out to community partners? Do you know roughly what that percentage would be?
So the things that we have to work on, like suicide prevention, we have to work on lowering the cancer rate, lowering the number of people who go to the emergency room, and as opposed to going to urgent care. And there's a whole list of things that we just don't do and don't have the capacity to do that we would have to work with community partners to do. And that would be having to help them expand their programs to do that. So, yeah.
So then the council's still going to have to fund your whole program for what you do?
Eventually, yes.
Okay.
And these would be the 8 programs that you brought for us last meeting?
That is what we were able to fund this year.
Yes.
To work with partners to meet those.
But you got $2.6 million next year,
Correct.
so only about 1/4 of that.
What's
Yeah,
actually going to
well,
be
it's-
600 and
55, which
Yeah,
is
we're-
25%.
losing $2 million, which was not my operating budget before. We were working under, way under that 2.6.
So your recommendation is to send her to her board make a official decision, and then have that decision brought to the commission.
It's not going to impact your choice or ability. That would be my recommendation at this time.
Okay.
You okay with that?
I am.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Any questions?
Anyone else have any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Department head is still open. Is there anyone else from department head?
Darlene Hale, LaPorte County IT. I just want to give you a quick update. The new cameras going in at the courthouse, all the cameras have been mounted. We may be able to add a couple more on the outside. It's still in progress. We're waiting on some other equipment from Pemberton Davis to get that in, and then we'll get that project closed out. We did a phone upgrade last week, and in general, it went very well. There are some buttons that, if I could pick up somebody else's line, those sometimes did not transfer. As the calls are coming in and we find out who's didn't transfer, then we will, we're taking care of that right away. Also, with speaking with Mr. Rosamond this morning, him and I both got the quote for budgetary numbers for our financial and tax software for next year. And it is asking for a signature. It previously did not. I know I don't want to sign it, and Mike was going to ask, it's just the software we've used for many years.
And we'll let Guy review it, and then we can get it signed. We
It's
don't
just
need it.
budgetary numbers.
Yeah. Do we need it approved by the commission, or?
So is this a continuation of a prior contract?
It's a continuation of the prior contract. It's just budgetary numbers so that we have something to put in our budget. And they were just looking for an acknowledgement, but I'm going to share it anyway. I do have it saved, so
Okay.
I will forward it on. And that way we can go through our usual process.
Okay,
And,
beautiful.
All right, thank you.
you.
Good morning. My name is John Matwishin, LaPorte County Surveyor. I rise here to mention that the passage of the Stormwater Management Department ordinance brought up an issue in that there also is a section of Indiana Code with the exact same title. In consultation with Mr. DiMartino and Mr. Meyer, who's the author of the ordinance, a distinction has been made between the two. It's not apparent to me as a non-lawyer, but I just wanted to come up and mention that the two are two separate concepts, even though unfortunately they share the same sequence of words.
Yes, that's correct. So the statute that our surveyor brought up has to deal pretty much if we end up taking the step to become a utility, then the makeup would be different. But right now, our MS4 is under the permit and the permit holder and IDEM. So it's two different issues at this point. At some point, it might change over.
And for my...
So do you see it as an issue?
I do not.
Okay, thank you.
And I've been basically using the description, the Stormwater Management Department ordinance and Stormwater Management Department Indiana Code to distinguish between the two, add a little bit of additional verbiage on there so that confusion could be avoided. Bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other department heads?
I'll get to it sooner or later.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Poland, Building Commissioner. Two real quick things. One, we still have an opening for a part-time HVAC and plumbing inspector. So if you're a retired plumber sitting at home watching reruns of The Price is Right, maybe your mother-in-law moved in with you, come on down, talk to me or Monique. We've got something for you. Other than that, we got our software being implemented. We've got half of the modules implemented already. code enforcement, and a couple of the other ones will be forthcoming. We still have regular meetings with the technical staff from the vendor. So we're able to get some tweaks in. Now's the time, if you're in the public and you're using that software, if you're filing for a deck permit or a roofing permit, or you're doing your contractor registration, I want to hear from you. How do you like it? What do you think? You got any criticism? You want to see any tweaks, changes? Get a hold of me. Now's the time to implement that. So other than that, that's all I have. If you have any questions for me.
I want to thank you, first of all, for that software, because we did have highway piggyback off of that as well. And so currently, not only can you deal with the stuff that you deal with, you can, and this is important that the public know, they can get on the website and they can report the potholes to the highway department. And that was all off of that one meeting. They were able to actually piggyback off of that program, and we were able to get some other parts of that program that helps the highway. So if you have potholes out there and you want to report it, you can go through the website and you can report those as well.
It's a great tool to modernize what we have. We're going from Flintstones to Jetsons. We're getting up into the new age. We're gonna, it's gonna save data on the cloud. We're not gonna lose stuff in the flood. It's better looking. It's more efficient. It's more seamless. It's gonna be better all the way around when it's finished. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other department heads?
Yes, I received a letter from Mill Creek Lions Club, which is an offshoot of that Lions Paws for support for Paddlefest. I took the letter that I was given. Diane typed it up, made it look appropriate and everything else. I've known this young lady since she's a child. She's reinstituted the Mill Creek Lions Club. Emily Howard's her name. And she started this Lions Paws for Support Paddlefest. They provide services for veterans. I'll read what was written. LaPorte County Board of Commissioners proudly support Lions Paws for Support Paddlefest, which will be hosted by the Mill Creek Community Lions Club in Fish Lake on July 19th, 2025. This event is the annual fundraiser for Lions Paws for Support, which provides emotional and financial support for veterans in our community. They sponsor the adoption of dogs and cats from the LaPorte County Animal Shelter and other local shelters as emotional support animals for veterans. $25 gift certificates for groceries to Al supermarkets are also provided. To date, Lions Paws for Support have sponsored the adoption of 22 dogs and 7 cats and distributed 50 $25 gift certificates for grocery assistance. Our support of this event and the Lions Paws Support Project will continue to provide these gifts of gratitude to our veterans for going forward. Thank you. Just one more thing to say is this letter of support for her will also help her attain more grants to assist the veterans in our community, and I would like to recommend that we pass this.
So it's a motion?
Motion, yes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think we conclude department heads. We'll be closing department heads and moving on to request. First request, consider permission for 2 employees to travel to Atlanta September 14th through the 17th, and Mr. Irick will be presenting it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have 2 staff members that are wanting to go to the National Association of Pretrial Services Conference in Atlanta. They are required to maintain CEUs as part of their job, and the entire travel, food, everything else is being covered through our probation user fee account.
Make a motion to approve your travel request.
I'll second for discussion for just a second. So everything's paid for, and
Yep.
This is required training hours.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. Consider 25 sick days paid for retiring employee in the clerk's office. Presenting will be Heather Stevens.
Morning.
Morning.
Heather Stevens, County Clerk. I had an employee retire after 20 years of service, and she did have 25 sick days left, so I'd like to get her paid out.
Sick days or vacation days?
Well, she has both.
Okay, because it says 25 vacation days and 32 sick days, and you said 25 sick days.
I believe, let me clarify the 6 days. It's either 25 or, yeah.
Okay.
I had to clarify it in an email, and I can't remember which one's right. But either way, I'd like to pay them out.
Did, I know because it gets approved through the HR. Can you recall off the top of your head?
25.
It's
The
25.
clarification email says 25.
Thank
Was
you.
that sent on the 8th?
Yeah.
Okay. So this would be to consider paying out 25 sick days for a retiring employee. What is the pleasure of this board?
Do you have the funding in your budget?
Yes.
I make a recommendation that we approve this.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
And this means I can pay out her vacation time as well, correct?
The vacation time is paid out by, yeah.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Moving on to old business. Consider MS4 board appointments. Mr. Vicari will be presenting. Vicari.
Vicari, you say Vicari, I say Vicari. Good morning. My name is Paul Vicari. I'm the MS4 Stormwater Management Director for LaPorte County. And I'm here today because I would like the commission to consider a recommendation regarding the makeup of our new MS4 board. I'm suggesting from the Commission President Graham Morosa, from the council, Councilman Novak, our president of our supervisors for Soil and Water Conservation District, Don Lodi, and as an alternate to Don Lodi and citizen at large, Mark Parkman. The reason for my suggestion, and this is a suggestion, is that the elected members who have served on an interim board to this point have been essential, absolutely essential and steadfast, and the recent improvements to the MS4 program. They, along with Councilman Cunningham, formed an interim MS4 board of sorts and have been formally as well as informally acting as advisors to me in particular since August of 2023, offering consistent support and very agile communications with staff. Together with Attorney DiMartino and Attorney Meyer, this group provides very complementary viewpoints and extensive understanding of our MS4 program. They have a particular strong history since we, in the early stages, went through some very trying circumstances, inheriting a former program that was deficient, according to IDEM, and under audit. In those early months, they were particularly supportive in advancing the effort much better, in creating a much better situation. And at this point, we are cured from audit. We have no deficiencies, and we have a running program with process, with policy that we're working on, all the things that work into our stormwater quality management plan, which dictates our program as approved by IDEM. They truly understand its progress, therefore, because they saw this since August, they saw the transition, they understand the progress, they understand some of the ongoing challenges that we're going to have. They offer diverse solutions, focused perspectives that help us continuously improve and effectively advance for the county's benefit. I just want to emphasize this program is no more, no less than the federal law, which is the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System, NPDS, which is Section 402 of the Clean Water Act, not to be confused with Section 404. It's the oldest section of the Clean Water Act, dating back to 1972. And where our standing is as a Phase 2 NPDS program. Now, IDEM is the administrator of the regulations that are the Title 327, two parts of that. One is our general permit, the other are the construction permits. I believe an important point to consider here is that Mr. Matishwan brought up the utility. So while it's permissible to use Indiana code, we're talking about Indiana administrative code. So, for example, administrative code says you will address water pollution. The Indiana administrative code says these are the regulations and rules behind it. So we hold a general permit, we have to abide by the state statute or the state administrative code for our construction permits, and it's no more, no less. Now, how we got out of deficiencies? Doing the job. So we have to have 6 minimum control measures. We implement those 6 minimum control measures as a requirement of that general permit, and that compliance is what requires us to form this board. You can, if you want, it is permissible to do utility. It is permissible to do it the way that Mr. Attorney DiMartino and Attorney Meyer have framed the ordinance. So with that, I'll take questions.
Also on this board, you're going to require someone from the city of LaPorte in Michigan City. How many total board?
Okay, so I want to clarify. So they have their own MS4 programs. Okay. So they're not, there used to be a partnership agreement between the municipalities that was dissolved before my time.
Yeah. Okay. So the purpose of this board right now is that we're trying to, you have this board, the program is up now, and it seems to be some continuity of services. You want the board to be very similar to the health department's board. You want the board to be similar to community corrections, that they're going to end up being an advisory board to you. For instance, the whole purpose and what was attached to your ordinance was a budget. They need to get together and meet so they can present a budget to the council, because the whole idea and the structure that now we're trying to get for MS4 is that it's going to be self-sustaining in the next 18 months. Otherwise, Mr. Vicari is not going to keep his salary that the council gave him. And so that's the first step into going ahead and doing that. Is that sort of, that sort of makes sense?
So you'll self-fund through permit fees and fines and stuff like that?
Right.
Hopefully no fines.
Oh. We don't, fines are a last resort. I probably shouldn't be on camera saying that. It's not what we like to do. We're heavy on educating.
This year?
We issued one fine since I've been here. It was a $250 fine, and it was flagrant. So they gave me no choice. Funny story, when he came in and paid the fine, and when I showed up the next time, he gave me cookies. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't take those. So he wanted to give me cookies.
That could have.
So somehow I delivered the fine in a very gentlemanly fashion to where he wanted to make peace, with me. So we try very hard in our approach to educate folks, speak to them like when I was in the private sector, I would like to be spoken to. Yet again, I want to impress upon you, no more, no less. So to have a functional program, you have to be consistent across the board, and everybody knows the rules, everybody knows the process. And what I'm finding as we're reviewing these permits in-house, there has been a timetable of improvement of the expectations. Let's just call it expectations.
It's good because they don't want to wait any longer to start work.
No, and I'll hold me to this. I follow the 10-14 day rule, which is part of our program. That means if it's 5 or less of disturbance, I have 10 days to respond. And we're doing these in-house. And for over 5, it's 14. So if you're an applicant and you simply review the requirements of our permit and have all the pieces in there, you're going to get a quick review. If I do have somebody who comes to me and they say, this is kind of, wow, we really need to get started. I worked in the private sector, so I'll accommodate that to the extent that I can. But I really entered into this role with an understanding since the early 90s as a consultant of not really liking the bureaucracy. I didn't feel it was necessary. However, this is a performance-based permit. So if you say you're going to do something and it only represents less than 1% of your construction project, I'm going to expect that you do it. And the rain reports come in consistently. We have a process. The building commission has coordinated with us with this GovWell. I've noticed an improvement in I wouldn't even want to say improvement, but Mike's right. There's been a seamless coordination between the two departments. They understand where I come in is for land disturbance. And so the questions are asked, is there a permit needed for this? It's a yay or a nay. If a permit is needed, we jump on it. So Chris and I have been working together on this with this particular, we'll call it an interim board. And at the end of next year, IDEM's going to throw a whole new ball of wax at us. So
Got to be ready.
So it's important to remain agile. If we had tried to do the utility right now, that's not as agile. So the ability to respond to changes when they occur in the 2026 iteration of the new permits, and it's going to be both of them. And I understand we're going to have the construction, we're going to continue to have the MS4 general permit, and they're going to throw industrial sites at us. So we're going to have to figure out these review schedules and understand the people who benefit from that service. If they get the service, they'll pay for it. I haven't experienced complaints yet because we've been working on a tier-based review, and we really do have to be cognizant. If it takes 4 hours for me to review or for Chris to review and write a notice of termination so that somebody can complete their work with IDEM and get their bonds back, that's a service to them. $400 to get your bond back, for us to write a letter that gets you off the hook with IDEM, that's a service. So it's fair, in my opinion.
A couple of questions that I've got from farmers. You're not going to have any regulation or rules or their IDEM permit for manure, correct?
Okay, can we talk about swamp busters and stuff a little bit?
Yeah, I mean,
Can I provide a little clarification, just real quick? Swamp Busters was a voluntary program.
In the 80s.
Okay. So what that did is it provided subsidies for farmers through the USDA under the NRCS. And it started out, it was to compensate farmers for poor crop production in wet areas. So you had prior converted, you had wetlands, and you have farm wetlands. As you know, farm wetlands you can crop through.
Yep.
Okay, so back in, there was the Solid Waste Agency of North Cook County versus Supreme Court that knocked the core back a little bit on isolated wetlands. It was at that point that NRCS broke their memorandum of agreement with Section 404. So really, if farmers are still experiencing any type of, because I think the focus was on wetlands when I spoke to you, with wetlands, it would really only be at this point if they're immediately adjacent to to a stream. That's the new guidance from Section 404. And IDEM has their isolated classes. It would be really difficult for a farm wetland to rate class 3. So a class 1, which is relatively low quality, would already be exempt. Now let's talk about Section 402, which is what you're exempt. Okay? Crop production, farmers are exempt from the Indiana from 327. If this new CSGP, if a farmer is doing something that's an obvious violation, such as throwing chemicals right into which farmers don't do, generally, in my experience. There may be a few bad apples in the barrel, but generally farmers are pretty good land stewards. If that happens, that's an obvious violation that falls under our illicit discharge detection elimination program within our management plan. So in terms of farmers having to do what a builder has to do, you're exempt for most activities that a farmer really depends upon for their livelihood. If there's a containment facility like a building, that's a different story. That does require a stormwater pollution prevention plan.
Mr. Vicari, TMI, you answered the question.
Thanks, Guy. Thanks for getting me off the hook. He's gonna be my greatest ally.
What
We
is
want the bad farmers gone too.
And Mark Parkman, by the way, is our alternate.
He's a great man.
Okay.
So we have a motion. Did we get a second?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize there was a motion.
You made a motion, correct?
No, there's no motion yet.
I'll make a motion that we grant these 4 members.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, new business. Consider addendum to the E911 employee handbook, and Ms. Houston will be presenting.
Morning, Commissioners. Barb Houston, 911 Director. We wrote, revised our addendum some months ago, and we did send it to Attorney DiMartino, and he said we had to make sure that our board approved it. It was months ago that we sent it because the board doesn't meet regularly. I mean, we do, but several months in advance. We just had a board meeting, and it is in our minutes that they have passed the revised edition of our addendum. And I'm here today to ask the commissioners for a new resolution to pass our addendum, please.
Make a motion, we pass this.
Second. What resolution number is this going to be?
It's 2025, I know that. I'm good with that.
I got that one.
I spoke with Matt yesterday.
Let's just call it by name. Resolution of the LaPorte County Board of Commissioners approving the uniform personnel policy for employees, and that'll be 2025-5.
5. All right, thank you.
So what would be the pleasure of this board?
I just made a recommendation, we pass this.
And I seconded.
So we have a motion and a second. No more discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Consider third addendum between the Assessor and Tax Management Associates. Stacy will be up presenting for.
Good morning. Mr. Schultz couldn't be here for unforeseen circumstances, so if you have any questions, I can answer them for you.
I talked to Mike this morning. This is basically just an update of the fees.
That's correct.
Everything else just stays the same.
That's correct.
So we have a motion.
I make a motion, we accept it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Consider bridge naming committee recommendations of 6 bridges. That would be presented by Bruce Johnson.
Bruce Johnson, LaPorte County Historian. First of all, I want to thank you, commissioners, for the 2 lanterns that were put up in the tower. The courthouse tower was really special. It was really cool to look up there and see these 2 little tiny spots, and which really shows you how tall that tower is. So it was really special. And keep in mind that Flag Day is coming up on June 14th, which is the official beginning of the America 250 celebration for the United States' 250th birthday next year in 2026. On behalf of the Bridge Naming Committee, I have several bridges. We have 6 bridges. The first one is we're recommending is for the Risky brothers. Their parents came here and settled in Michigan City in 1864. And the 4 sons, Christian and Augustus, 2 of those sons, 4 of the sons, purchased an old sawmill, a brickyard, and about 225 acres of farmland about 3 miles east of Michigan City on the Michigan Road. August Risky was born in 1839, then it was Michael, 1841, Christopher, 1847, Theodore in 1854. The Risky brickyard eventually covered several acres and included kilns, brick molds, and grinding machinery, and could make 30,000 building and paving bricks a day. Then in 1880, the Risky brothers raised the sawmill and built a large flour and feed mill. The business is called the Eureka Flouring Mills and was managed by the 4 Risky brothers with an eventual workforce of about 50 men. Farmers in the area brought their wheat to be made into white flour, and the mill was operated by water power from Trail Creek and utilized with 3 Brook turbine wheels. The capacity of the mill when running full-time, day and night, was 120 barrels a day. The business flourished and the little community became known as Riskyville. The Risky family donated an acre of land in Michigan Township for what would become Risky School. And then after the brothers died, two of the brothers died, Christopher and August Risky continued to manage the business with the help of Christopher's son, Arthur. When Christopher died, then in 1913, August and Risky family heirs decided to sell the mill. It had reached the end of an era, and in 1920, the mill burned to the ground. In 1923, a meeting was held to incorporate the area known as Riskyville to become an official town with the new name Trail Creek. August Risky died in 1924, but his brick home and Christopher's home, both made of Risky bricks, still stand on Michigan Boulevard, not far from the Risky Avenue and Risky Trail, and we're recommending bridge number 507 for them.
Mr. Johnson, if you could just give a summary as to each bridge and the reason, because we're going to post all these online.
Oh, okay.
Everybody be able to read the full biography.
All right, I'll do my best.
Thank you.
The next one is Susan Hay Heminger. She became the first female judge in LaPorte County's history. She served in that office until her death in September of 1993. She was one of the founders of LaPorte Teen Court, a board member of the Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and she is known for the importance of a good, she knew the importance of a good education. She established the Susan Hay Heminger Scholarship Fund, and Susan's brother, David Hay, was named in her will as one of 3 trustees in the scholarship fund. Since 1995, the foundation has awarded more than $971,000 to more than 300 students from LaPorte County schools. We're recommending bridge number 512 on Michigan Boulevard over Trail Creek for Susan Heminger. John B. Shadonia was a Potawatomi peacemaker. He was known to settlers here in LaPorte County as Shadney. His father was a fur trader. His mother was a sister to Chief Dopanibi. He worked very effective in helping to keep peace with the government, settlers in Potawatomi and LaPorte County and beyond. In 1837, John B. Shadonia died. He served many years, according to General Lewis Cass. He served many years in both peace and war, and in trying circumstances rendered great services to the United States. Some of the events of his life were almost romantic, and at all times he was firm and faithful. On March 3, 1847, the 29th U.S. Congress approved that the wife of John B. Shadonia receive a half section of land and his 2 children each receive a quarter section of land in consideration of services rendered by their father. He had also received land in Scipio Township on section number 28 for his help in earlier times during the first settlers here in LaPorte County and solving problems with the Potawatomi. And we're recommending bridge number 38 for John B. Shadonia. Anita King was born Anna Keppen in Michigan City in 1884. Her family had settled here from Germany. Her father died when she was 12, and her mother died 2 years later of pulmonary tuberculosis. She and her older siblings have become impoverished orphans, and Anna and her sisters worked for times as servants at the Barker family mansion on Washington Street. She became interested in theater and went out west. She did modeling for auto shows and learned to drive, became one of the first female race car drivers on the West Coast, and won several races. She also became one of the first silent movie stars, working with Cecil B. DeMille in Paramount Pictures. In 1912, when the Lincoln Highway was built across the United States from New York to San Francisco, she helped to promote new Paramount Picture Corporation pictures when she took the challenge to become the first woman to drive solo from San Francisco to New York on the new Lincoln Highway. And we recommend a bridge over Tryon Road over Highway 94 for Anita King. And when she would often visit her family here in Michigan City. Private First Class Martin Stark was born in 1924. His family lived on Highway 2 between 150 East and Lofgren Road. He graduated from Rolling Prairie High School in 1942. Following his graduation, he worked at the Kingsbury Ordnance Plant and later making ammunition for the war effort. Then in 1943, at age 18, he enlisted in the U.S. Army. He took on his oath at Fort Benjamin Harrison, and he went through training at a site in Tent City near the village of Chiselton in the borough of Swindon, Wiltshire, England. On June 14, 1944, the LST, which is a landing ship tank, number 523, took part in the invasion of Normandy in France. The LST 523 was carrying the second echelon of the 300th Battalion and transferring soldiers, ammunition, supplies, jeeps, and tanks to the beaches of Normandy. It would then return to England with casualties. On June 19, 1944, during its fourth trip from England to France, LST 523 hit an underwater German landmine off the shore of Utah Beach. The ship was blown in half, and 94 soldiers of the 300th Battalion and 117 Navy sailors were lost at sea, while there were only 28 survivors. His parents received a telegram that Martin was missing in action. He was only 19 years old and had served just 15 months. They finally received the notification that he had passed. And decades later, his niece wanted to learn more about her uncle. She had never known. And through research here at LaPorte County, we were able to prove that he did not receive his Purple Heart. And so at LaPorte City Hall, on August 3rd, 31st, 2024, almost 80 years later, he received his Purple Heart. And we are recommending bridge number 253 for Martin Stark. The last one is Hazel Harrison. She was born here in LaPorte in 1883, the only child of Hiram and Olive Jane Harrison. Her father had a barber shop, and her mother had a beauty parlor at their home on Clay Street near the Civic Auditorium. When she was 4 years old, she showed exceptional musical talent, began taking piano lessons. By the time she was 8, she was playing for local dance parties and making an extra income for her family. She was brought to the attention of Victor Heinze, famous German musician, who became her next piano teacher for many years in LaPorte, and later commuted to Chicago for lessons. She graduated from LaPorte High School in 1902. In 1904, when she was 20 years old, Hazel Harrison performed as soloist with the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra in Germany. It was the first appearance with a European orchestra of an American performer who had never studied outside the United States. She became one of the greatest living women pianists in the 1920s. She returned to LaPorte to perform a benefit concert at LaPorte High School auditorium to raise $7,000 to complete the construction of the new AME Church on Brighton Street. During World War II, she raised money for the war effort, giving concerts around the United States from 1947 to 1950. She retired and did a final farewell concert at the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. in 1954. She died there in 1969. She performed with many orchestras around the world, but she was never allowed because she was black, so she could not perform in Carnegie Hall. We're recommending, I didn't write it down. 500. 500? Okay, thank you. So those are the 6 bridges that we recommend.
I'll make a motion that we accept these recommendations. You're reading these things about these people from LaPorte County is fascinating. I mean, last year you had one from my hometown of Mill Creek.
Oh, cool.
It was just amazing
Yes.
for World War II vet.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
And then
much.
we will have its entirety posted on our website.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Moving on, consider advertising bids for the Hyler Building first floor renovations. So I kind of, I know that we have to put it out to advertisement, but I handed out 2 sheets of paper because I kind of worked on this last night. And the whole thing is we've gone through the first process. We've gotten to the point where we've taken care of the initial problem or the initial emergency declaration. So what would this board like to do? Would you like us to write something informally and try to figure out how we're going to put it back together? Or would the board like to hire a firm to come in and kind of look at the scope of work that we're going to need to do? Because you're going to have to look at the pre-incident conditions, which would include general trade, electrician, plumbing, mechanical, the finishing work, because we have tile in there, and we have to figure out how we're going to match up the tile to, we have an existing floor tile. There's an 1.5 inches that would have to be built out. So there's a lot of specs that's going to have to be looked at. So again, my suggestion to the board is we do it one of two ways. We either try to do it internally, or we send it out to a firm and we get the firm to really look at the project and figure out, there's tile that goes on the wall. It actually is from the base up 4 feet, and not all the walls were taken out. So would we just leave the tile that's there? There's also wallpaper on the upper half of the bathrooms that, because of the moisture, and I truly believe in years past it just had been peeling. So all that work is going to have to be done. So again, I just asked the board, what is your preference?
I have a couple of questions that I've been asked by some people in the Hyler building.
I'm confused. You're talking Hyler building.
This is the Hyler building.
This is the Hyler building.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the
We're gonna
jail
hit-
second one.
We're going to do the second one is the jail. This is for advertisement bids for Hyler building. This would be under 11D.
Angie, I know you're shorthanded, but are there any scopes in this that your crew could probably do, in-house or not? I know you're
Not
shorthanded.
without taking most of my crew.
Okay.
We have 4.
Four,
right
and
now.
then that takes away from
With
everything
the work
else. then.
orders, we have at least
I'm
2
just-
pages every morning.
People have been asking me why, and I said, well, I don't think you got enough people to do it.
We don't.
Okay. Thanks.
So what would be the pleasure of the board?
So you need someone to develop a scope of work
Correct.
to send out, or can you have the go straight to bid?
Well, I mean, when you put it out to bid, you have to have some type of a scope, because the actual contractors that come in, you have to be able, so there's going to be decisions that's going to have to be made. One is, do we rip all that wallpaper down? Do we fix the wall behind there? Do we put wallpaper back up? Do we, the tile in each bathroom, I believe in the female bathroom, when I looked at it, there's probably 1/3 of the bathroom where it still has tile that's 4 feet up. Angie, you're nodding your head. Come up here and just verify the stuff that I'm saying, because she and I work really close together, and we kind of went through it and we saw this. And then in the male bathroom, there is 1/4 of tile that goes up the wall only 4 feet. And so there was a mirror during the demolition. It did not break. They were able to get it down safely, but it was not fastened properly. There were leaks behind the wash basins, so those all have to be fixed. There's an issue with the HV, because we had some HV pipes that were kind of like throughout the years just kind of ran in the wall and coming from different other HVAC compressors, and so all that's going to have to be looked at. So again, do you want, I would be willing to take on the task, but it may not be as, I did work on the complex, but again, I think that my recommendation to this board would be bring in a firm and have a firm, because after all, that's what we wanted, right? We want to make sure that we're putting this out to bid and we're getting this done right. So the right thing would be to hire a firm to come in, write us a scope, and then once we get that scope, then we can put that out to bid. So, but again, I defer it to the board, and I would ask for a recommendation from the board.
If we don't have a scope of work, you're not comparing apples to apples.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you're going to get people to come in and bid with.
I make a motion, we put out a request for engineering firm to do the scope of work so we can get a list.
Well, it doesn't have to be an engineering
engineering,
firm, but just a firm that comes in and does construction and would be
Construction,
able-
okay, construction firm then, or
Okay.
whatever you want to call it.
I do have a question, and I don't want to talk over.
Sure.
If that's okay. Why can't this just be put out to a general who would come in and the generals can bid it? You're talking about demo and remodeling of the bathrooms.
I believe demo's done, correct?
The bathroom's down to the studs?
The demo's done. It's
So they can see.
They can see what they need to do.
Okay. So I would think that you would be able to just put this out to a general, request for a general, just for bids.
Straight to bid then.
Yeah, because it's not like there's something behind the walls that you need somebody to go and search and, right? I mean.
It'll save money and time that way.
Well, we're still going to have the HV issue. I mean, because we don't know. We have pipes just kind of like hanging in the ceiling, just kind of like out there. We don't know. We'd have to chase those.
But wouldn't the general be able to determine what trades he needs? And if we bring that up when you do a site inspection, whoever's going to do the site inspection so they can see and answer questions, either whether it's going to be, one or more of the commissioners or Miss Rose.
Miss Davis.
Miss Davis. You look like a rose.
Okay.
You look like a rose today.
I'll take it.
Sorry about that. So I think that you could probably just put this out to bid.
Put it out to bid and just have the general contractors come in, and then what happens when, so who's going to guide them and say, okay, we want to pull out this wallpaper?
Well, you're going to tell them what you want. Why, if it's demoed, why is there wallpaper? I'm confused.
So because we didn't demo the wallpaper, we didn't demo.
But that's cosmetic, right? Wallpaper's cosmetic.
Right, but
you don't need a professional license or an architect or something for wallpaper.
Right.
Yeah.
I think with that, we just need to make the decision if we want to put it back or
take it down.
Take it down and have it redone properly.
Do we keep one third of the tile that's on the walls, or do we remove the rest of the tiles? So.
Okay, right.
So
I think you can just bid it, the restrooms and the assessor's kitchen and break room, right?
Okay.
You could set it for, pre-bid meetings, maybe one or two, depending upon what you need to do, and tell them your wishes and see what they come back with.
So again, what is the pleasure of the board?
Yeah, make a motion, go straight to bid then.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second.
Okay, well, so before I know that we had the county engineer handle that, who are you going to appoint to be there to answer questions and say what they want for the pre-bid meetings?
Our
Hence-
facilities director.
Hence why I believed that we needed to have a firm come in, and so, it just got complicated, because if we have a firm come in and actually give us a scope, then when we go out to pre-bid, then we already have our scope written. But you want to go straight out to...
Listen, I don't want to go anywhere. I only provide
Legal
information
counsel.
and advice. So it's your call what you all want to do.
Okay, so we've just been guided to go out to
Straight to bid.
straight to bid, but we have no scope.
Yeah,
we have to get to the point that where we have scope. We have a scope.
Well, I understand that your department's very understaffed, but coming up with a quick scope of what needs to be fixed. When they came in there, they did some flood cuts and whatnot on the in the lower levels of drywall, stuff like that. Did a scope of putting it back together, basically. That's I wouldn't think that. I would hope your department's able to just come up with a quick scope that the contractors can use.
Answers to how we want to proceed with the walls, if we want to retile the bottom of the walls, if we can find matching tiles. So I think that's commissioners will have to decide exactly how it wants done, and then we could
again,
come up with
then
what needs
we
to be
would
done.
need a motion. We'd need to make a motion to allow, again, because you're talking about a department who's very shorthanded.
Yeah, I know.
And so
We're also
I'll,
looking at time-wise and
Yeah.
money-wise, too.
so if you'll look at giving me and Ms. Davis permission to go ahead and come up with a scope, then that's what we'll have to do.
Boy, government's complicated.
So we do have a motion and a second on the floor. We can deal with that. Then we can appoint.
The scope after.
So we're just going to
Yeah.
go straight to
Straight to bid.
pre-bid meetings, okay?
Yep.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Okay, now we want to discuss the scope.
Who will,
Have Angie and Connie do the scope and then bring it to the next commissioners meeting. Would that work, Guy?
Well, I guess I'm sort of lost on the whole scope thing. The bathrooms are demoed. You have walls. You go and you say, we want this fixed, we want this repaired. Give us an idea of bidding with, if you're able to match the tile, great, matching tile. If you're not able to match the tile, all new tile. Wallpaper to me seems decorative. So, I mean, you're never going to match wallpaper, so the wallpaper should probably come down.
Correct.
So I don't know as to that issue why you need, you know what I mean? That's going to be the contract.
If you
problem
make an
comes
appointment with generals that come in and say, here it is, walk them through, show them what's been done, and then they can make their decision. That's that.
And then if you want to ask them repair versus replace those things, say, give us numbers on both so the board can make a firm decision.
Right.
Now, as to the break room, I don't know because I've not seen it, so.
right, and I think those are, you know what, we can work together and then bring back a whole bunch of different things that we think, because I think that when you start looking at the HV, you start looking at the plumbing work that was behind those cabinets that were leaking. Those are all things that are going to have to get addressed. So we'll go from there.
Would it be a problem just to put it out for bid and in the advertisement say, make an appointment to see the room so that way you can get an idea what you want to do?
That's what the pre-bid meeting would be.
Yeah, pre-bid,
And,
okay.
if plumbing's an issue, the contractor needs to
see
be
it.
able to and then they're going to go and bid it to their subs that they use for that, in order to put together the bid package.
Correct.
Okay, so then the first motion stands.
So we won't need anyone
Don't need to have
to-
anything else.
We don't need anyone, we don't need a scope.
Let the
So
general do it.
we're going to just invite a whole bunch of generals to come in and then just let them walk through the area and tell us what they think that they should put to back.
Well, you're not going to let them walk through the area. You're going to meet with them and you're going to say, look at this, we want these bathrooms up and functional. I mean, it's not,
Yeah, they have to have someone.
Right,
with
make
them.
appointments.
yeah. Or they'll come out, or they might come at once.
Right.
You might have 2 separate days or whatever. Now, for the next one, it's a completely different situation.
Okay. So that's passed. Now, we'll move on to the next one.
Ms. David?
Just sit tight.
Next one is under 11E, and it is for the shower pod jail. And so we worked on trying to put something together for that one. And I'm sure you've both read through them. And so just so you have an idea, and I mean, we talked a little bit about this last meeting, and I just wanted, because again, I think that the information that we put out here in these meetings, we don't really always give out a lot of good visuals and that. And these are some of the pipes that we're dealing with in the jail area. Here's another one. These are the leaks that we're dealing with. So when we were looking last meeting to fix a pod really quickly, this was the pipe that we were dealing with. Now, when you go fast forward and we start looking at, we have 20 pods out there. We've gotten one of them fixed. We've already got on schedule 2 more where the pipe is being affected. And then now we're looking to go ahead and send the remaining 17 out for bid. This is not something that we can easily reroute water, and so I think that it's good to give a visual to folks, because this pod, if we do send it out to bid, if the board decides to send it out to bid, I have already spoken to the sheriff, and he is also under the understanding that if we would have to take a pod apart, we're not going to use the option of using the vendor who's already fixed it. We're going to send it out to bid. So now we're going to need a scope of work for these pods. We're going to need someone to come here. It would be assumed that the pod would be out of service throughout the demolition, because they're going to have to do a demolition on it so that they can figure out and get the specs in order to put it back together. We would have an advertising period and then a reconstruction period. So the sheriff is aware that there will be a long period of time while we're going through this process, and we'll go from there. And so I kind of drew out what I think or how we should do this, but again, what is the pleasure of the board?
The price we were quoted before to do all of them was $400,000. To replace all of them was going to be about $5 million.
Can you,
I think there's a big difference there.
Mr. Skia, would you mind coming up and explaining?
Are we going to
just giving
save that
us,
much more money?
Good afternoon, Andy Skiat, 203 East Harrison Street, Michigan City, Indiana. So, so I'm here today for the meeting, and that is correct. So there's currently pods. I mean, I don't have any factual information as far as how long they've leaked. I mean, our business and our family, we've worked here since I got in the trade, maybe 25 years we've been working for the county. So a long time we've been in this building working all the way back from when Al Ott Sr. was the maintenance director, and those pipes have been leaking since then. So I knew there'd been many attempts to fix them, whether that was in-house by maintenance staff, jail staff. I don't know that. At the time, we only had the electrical business. We didn't have the other businesses at that time, so my involvement was strictly on electrical at that time back then. But there have been other attempts to repair them. Those attempts, in my opinion, were never proper. So obviously the issues continued, There's the pans underneath the units in multiple areas. One of them was the area that caused the insurance claim. The other one's the gas pipe that you've just seen. This is actually on the 4th floor where the legal counsel actually goes to meet with the inmates to represent them. So this is right outside the meeting rooms where the legal counsel meets with the inmates. I mean, you can tell by the picture that's been leaking a long time. How long, I don't know that, you know what I mean, but a long time. So I clearly understand, not to get sidetracked, but the process where the state requirements for the bid versus no bid. So I mean, that's not what I'm here to speak on. That don't pertain to me. I get drug into it indirectly, but I get both sides. So all I can tell you is that we did the research to replace the units. The cost for that would be $4.5 to $5 million, and with that, the manufacturer will not give any recommendations on how to install them. So they pretty much sell you a piece of equipment and they say, here you go. You know what I mean? So
and that $4.5 to $5 million does not include fixing the ceilings or anything else.
It does not. You just had a $1 million insurance claim from the same situation already that was caused by the same thing from nobody giving it attention and fixing the problem. So obviously the gas pipe could be another one. This could be another one. So that whatever the county decides to do, whether they decide with fixing them in a manner that our firm deems appropriate, or if they decide to go out and obtain a specification from a firm for a guideline to fix them. Obviously, I'll get caught up on that, but I prefer not to. But someone needs to address them properly, in my opinion, as a resident, as a taxpayer, as a local business owner, because there's obviously issues there. And I can tell you, as long as we've been doing work here, when I actually had my tools on an apprenticeship, which has been over 20 years, they have been leaking. So how you proceed forward with there, somebody needs to either, my opinion, have someone fix them or get a guideline on how other people should fix them moving forward. Because there's definitely an issue.
Honestly, this is not something, we can't have access to these ceilings where you can reroute the water with visqueen and duct tape. This is something that these ceilings right now are currently in that condition. Yeah, and we have to take action. And, this is something that's been going on for years. We have opened up ceilings and found where they have, came up with buckets, drilled a hole at the bottom of a bucket, kind of attached a pipe to it, ran it to another drainage area, and we still have these issues. And so at some point, we have to start fixing it.
I'm just being genuine. We have 3 businesses now. They're all privately owned. They're all locally owned. Here in LaPorte County, we employ LaPorte County people. We pay them well union wages, well above the median income. People should be proud of that. I own property in LaPorte County. I live in LaPorte County. But take all that aside. When you walk through the 4th floor and you come off the elevator and you're kicking the tile because the ceiling's been leaking so bad that the tile's skating across the floor like a piece of ice, and you have attorneys meeting with inmates and the ceiling's falling down full of possible growth. I don't think it matters what side you're on, whether it's the we should bid this or we should take the best solution side. I think all sides can agree when we're all live here and call this home that something needs to be done. So my decision clearly is not what needs to be done, but just speaking as a resident, you have issues that need to be addressed, however the board chooses.
So what was it going to cost us with buying all new equipment and then having to install it for all 20 pods?
It was between $4.5 and $5 million. Those were budget figures based on what the equipment cost and a guesstimate, a realistic guesstimate at what we thought it would cost to take those out and put them in. But to do that, say you went and spend that money for the equipment and you had the shower pod show up here, you're going to say, okay, what do we do? There is no guidelines with those, how to put those in. So you're relying on the firm that you would contract with to do that work, to do their diligence and come up with a solution to put them in. So you didn't spend $4.5 or $5 million and be right back where you are, because when you buy those units, there is no spec on how to seal them in the type facility you have here.
And until we fix those leaks, it's not going to solve any of those issues. The leaks, the showers is where the problem starts.
That's correct.
And that's where you start to fix it.
Yep. I hope that answers your questions.
So what is the pleasure of this board?
Well, this is going to ruffle some feathers, but Andy started doing that job on the showers. I still think we should get the showers fixed and then look at, the rest of that problem, to fix the rest of that stuff afterwards and put that out to bid, because if you don't fix the showers, you're not going to solve any issues. You're going to get worse and worse and worse. And like I said, this will ruffle feathers, but I think that's where you start. Get those showers fixed. So I make a motion we get the showers fixed.
Mr. Haney?
Could you clarify that motion as far as how to go about that?
He's already done 3 pods, let him finish the other 17, and then by then we'll get a scope to fix those tiles and everything else. He's done a tremendous job so far, and I don't think we're really breaking the bank, so to speak, because if you don't fix the showers, the sooner the better. The longer it takes, you're going to get worse problems with those tiles and everything else.
Okay.
Can I just add, on that floor, that was a light that the guys took down because the water was in it so bad, and there is another one that the water is going into the light fixture.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
No.
Hearing none, it dies for a lack of a second. So again, Mr. Haney, what would be your solution to this?
I think obviously the issue here is that we're going to be spending, north of $300,000 to finish the other 17 pods. We simply can't give that amount, that dollar amount worth of work under the statute without either getting bids or going a different route. If you two truly believe that this is the
Don't say you two.
or if the board truly believes that this is such a unique opportunity to save money that exists under something along the lines of special purchase statute, there's always the option to go that route. But again, that would need to be.
Would this qualify under that?
I don't consider this a special purchase issue.
Then,
It's not.
Mr. Haney, what would your motion be to proceed with this?
We can't, obviously last week you were talking about Visqueen and duct tape. So now after we see that, we know that that's not.
Yeah, I've seen that. I was talking specifically about the pipe and water flowing directly onto the pipe.
Okay.
Which again, I think anybody, it's a.
So what is the solution? What would be?
I think per the statute, we have no choice but to comply with the statute.
Okay, so what is your motion?
I would make a motion to go out for sealed bids to repair the showers.
Okay.
What about the rest of the stuff, like the tile, the ceiling, and all that? You want that all in one project or more than one project?
If we're getting sealed bids to do it, we could do it as one large project. That'd be fine.
So again, how do we scope it? What would be your suggestion on scoping it? Because each shower will be different. There's 17 showers. What you need to make a recommendation for scoping it.
I think what part of the issue that we have with needing scoping and whatnot is this may be something that we need, that the building committee needs to take a look at, is we need a facilities department who can at least scope some of this work, because as we just heard from our previous discussion, there were concerns about going out just to get the bathrooms fixed. So we need some level of expertise in-house to be able to provide some of that scope.
Some of the reason we have these issues is because the last person who had the quote-unquote expertise did some of these issues that we're finding out now.
Correct. A lot of
right. Well, I'm not suggesting we go back to a prior person. I'm just saying that.
But
the director of facilities is a position that is a position that requires a certain amount of expertise and education, and
we had those folks, and they did what you recommended: Visqueen and duct tape and aluminum foil, and we had all kinds of creative pans put underneath there, and then we had the pan trying to catch the water, leading to a 5-gallon bucket. So, and those were qualified individuals. Those were people that came from construction backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
So again,
and when you were elected and took office, we took steps to try and change some of that, and obviously we haven't been successful yet. Hopefully we will be able to.
May I interrupt y'all? And I don't want to get far afield. We understand that there's a difference in view of who's going to manage facilities, but at this point in time, that's
irrelevant right now.
Well, but that's not going to address the issue.
The issue we have to address is we've got the shower stalls are leaking, creating a bigger mess and a bigger problem.
Right.
That's
the issue,
and it's in our jail
today. Tomorrow it could be getting a director or a new engineer or
we have
whoever.
To address this issue right now.
Yeah.
Well, we got two different options here.
Well, the one option is clear. The first option is that you're going to violate the statute.
Right.
It's north of $150,000.
Yep.
Okay, so we need another solution.
That's the second option is you put it out for bid. Within that second option, do you first get somebody that can put it out for request for qualifications, or there's somebody that can scope it for you?
Scope it for you.
And then put it out to bid? Or do you put it out to bid for companies that have all the expertise to be able to give you an idea of what needs to be done? But I don't think anybody can scope it without demoing it.
Correct, and that's exactly
so. That's
any necessary demolition by the selected firm would need to coordinate with the LaPorte County Sheriffs. It is assumed the pod would be out of service throughout the demolition, specification, advertising, and construction process.
So why don't you do? May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Please.
Why don't you select a pod, request quotes for the demo, just the demo of that pod to expose the area. In the meantime, you can put it out for requests for qualifications. By the time that comes in, they'll have a template of what it looks like so they can scope it. That's an option.
Are they all the same? Are they all the same, Angie?
So each one is unique because each one creates different
issues.
Different issues. And I can tell you 2 years ago, I was in the jail myself, right from the beginning, and we had a maintenance person go in there with me. We caulked it. We pulled out all the caulking, we recaulked it. But it's not so much about caulking the front of it, it's about the installation of the actual showers themselves. It's about a handicap chair that when you put the pressure down, it kind of like pulls away from the wall. I mean, so a lot of it has to do with the installation, a lot of it has to do with the maintenance of it. So again, I would love for you to come up with a suggestion, because I mean, again, it's easy to scream and holler and say you're not doing something right, but you got to come up with a solution. I mean, for every problem that you identify, you got to come up with a solution. And so what is your solution? So we have a clear problem here, right? You wouldn't necessarily want to you wouldn't want anyone to go and take care of this with visqueen and duct tape, right? You can identify that these are truly issues that we need to address. So, this is giving you an opportunity to come up. I mean, I'm sure that with all the time that you focused on, like us having problems, you've come up with some solutions, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a type of solution that you would be happy with.
I understand you're not pleased that we don't get to violate state statute here,
No,
but
it has nothing to do with violating.
We have
again,
to follow our policy. How is it ridiculous?
Where's the solution?
Just a moment ago, you made a motion to violate state statute. I mean, that's not ridiculous. It is what it is.
Then
if you two want to do what you want to do, go ahead, vote and do it.
Can we let's work through this and see if we can get something that's tenable.
Let's see.
I would recommend
get the
that
state statute out and follow it directly. It may cost $10 million, but if that makes them happy, let's.
Well, you don't have to accept the bid.
That's true. That's true.
So,
you still got leaky showers.
But you've had leaky showers for 20 years. So, but I understand it's getting worse. So
you have no solution. You'd like to make a motion for what, sir?
To fix those pods the way Andy's been doing it so far, and then the rest of it we send out. Once we stop the water leak, we have to stop the water leak.
That died for a second. So I'll step down as president. I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to make a motion that we hire a firm to come in, that we go ahead and we follow the suggestions of our attorney, that I'm going to do it in multiple steps. The first step will be to hire a firm to come in, decommission one of the showers, preferably the shower that is causing this current leak right now. And once we have it taken apart, then we can, once we pay somebody to decommission that, then we will have, then we'll come back to the drawing board, and then we will ask permission from the board again, so that once we decommission it, then we can send it out for scoping. Would that be acceptable? We have a motion on the table.
How does the sheriff feel about losing part of these pods?
I've already
Create a problem for him?
I've already talked to him. I went through what I wrote up last night, and I talked to him today, and he knows that we are going to have a pod that's going to be down. It's going to put a strain on the jailers. We're going to have to be moving participants to other areas to take showers. But again, this is what we need to do in order for us to be able to get a scope of work. We have no choice, and he's well aware of it.
I think we're going to wind up spending a lot more money in the long run and taking a lot more time this way, but
So we have a motion on the
if it'll
table.
get the
Do we have a
project
second?
moving, I'll make a second.
Discussion.
For hiring the firm, are we requesting doing RFQs?
We're going to hire a firm to do demolition on one pod.
So I think that would probably qualify under soliciting 3 quotes, because I can't imagine that being north of 100.
50,000.
North of 150. I can't imagine that.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
So,
Okay.
but if they come back, then we'll have to revisit it. So I think that you're going to need to get and try to get an understanding of where the culprit is for that, whether it's 1 pod or 2 pods or what. What's the offending pod?
And that's the whole thing. So once you open up a pod, there's no guarantee that this water isn't running from another pod somewhere else. Yeah.
It goes where it wants to.
So we have some pods where they're single, and then we have some pods that are back to back. And so, again, we don't know, but we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? The motion is to hire someone to come in and do the demolition on 1 pod if we can track where this water damage is coming from. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
We have one more.
Public comments over, but now Mr. Haney's got something to add that we added earlier.
Yeah, we have consider B11F, consider advertising for a new county engineer. We've got, so our prior county engineer has resigned. The county engineer does more than just work on bridges here in the county. There's a number of different things they do for state compliance, where there's about, speaking with our planner, Mitch Bishop, there's about a dozen things outstanding right now for that, as well as the other duties that are assigned to the county engineer, such as ADA compliance. We need an ADA compliance person, and having an engineer do that is part of, I don't remember the exact verbiage from the state, but that's something that we need as well. So while some of the bridge work we can, in the interim, we can sub out for like from on-call and things like that. The county does need a county engineer, and I would make a motion that we direct our HR to advertise for the position to try and find a new county engineer.
I'll second for discussion. We have to do it sooner or later, so might as well bite the bullet and get it over with.
I personally, for discussion, I think that we should wait till after budget hearings, because we're going into budget hearings. I don't think that there's anything pressing. He is the highway, correct me if I'm wrong, he is the highway engineer, correct? He works under the highway department.
He's under the highway department, but he does do other things besides highway. He'll look at water flow for MS4, for some of the vendors, he does the ADA. He's assisted with things like that, but he's under the highway department.
And just because we advertise does not mean we have to hire immediately.
No, and given the rates the current rates for that position, it's probably going to take some time to find
one.
To find a candidate that's willing to work for that amount.
Yep. And that's an issue all governments are having.
Yeah.
It's the salaries are not high enough to attract certain individuals for certain things, so it's no fault of anybody's departments or anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Now, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming out.